A long-awaited report on sexual abuse in Germany's Munich Archdiocese has faulted Pope Benedict XVI's handling of 4 cases when he was Archbishop in the 1970s and 80s. The Archdiocese commissioned the report nearly 2 years ago, looking at abuse cases between 1945 and 2019 to determine whether church officials handled allegations correctly. In 4 cases, then Archbishop Ratzinger is accused of allowing perpetrators to continue doing pastoral work with parishioners despite their history of abuse. Benedict strongly denies any wrongdoing. But this new report threatens to tarnish his legacy amid a German church scandal in which at least 3,600 people are believed to have been victims of clergy abuse over the past 70 years. Joining us from Rome to discuss the German report is the managing director of EWTN Germany, Martin Rothweiler. Martin, thank you so much for joining us. I know you were on News Nightly this week talking about this issue, but you're here to dig a little deeper. This German report is an effort at transparency, critical to helping process the pain felt by the faithful to the abuse scandal. Is the intended effect in Germany to rebuild trust and bring people back into the pews?
Well, the report on the abuse cases in the Archdiocese of Munich and Fridays is definitely an effort at transparency, like the report on the abuse cases in the Archdiocese of Cologne that was published last year and set a standard for these reports. All the dioceses in Germany are called upon to publish reports on the tragic matter in order to give justice to the victims who have been suffering from the abuses as well as from the covering up of cases that were not handled with the necessary empathy and focus on the victims. So this report shall also help to draw the right conclusions that these terrible things will not happen again. And finally, the reports are definitely meant to regain the trust of the faithful as hundreds of thousands of Catholics are leaving the Church each year.
Well, we hope this will bring them back. Is this report in any way part of the synodal path?
This report does not form an integral part of the synodal path in a strict sense, but is to be understood in the context of the synodal path. The abuse crisis triggered the launch of the synodal path, which pretends to give an answer to the abuse in order to regain the trustworthiness of the Catholic Church in Germany. The thing is, though, that the agenda of the synodal path aims at a structural reform of the Church and a change of the doctrine in some areas. So it tends to instrumentalize the abuse to reach goals like the ordination of women, the blessing of homosexual partnerships, and the abolishment of the obligatory celibacy for priests, for example. It is noticeable that the report of the law firm Westphal Spilker Wastel mentions some of these remedies against the abuse that the synodal path is going to decide on.
And that's problematic because it goes against church teaching, definitely. So then, does this report affect the evangelizing legacy of Benedict, the way that some have considered the scandal in the church affects John Paul II's legacy?
The media in Germany have been widely using this report to discredit Pope Benedict's integrity and consequently his evangelizing legacy. The public media have already pronounced the verdict, guilty, and this without any proof. The media focus was nearly completely on Benedict and not on any of his predecessors or successors as Archbishop of Munich. Cardinal Marx was not even present at the press conference to receive the report from the hands of the law firm. Moreover, it is sad to see that some fellow bishops, like the chairman of the German Bishops' Conference, have been pointing fingers at the former pontiff, which creates the impression that they want to distract from their own failures and want to harm the reputation of Pope Benedict, whose orthodox theology is in clear contradiction to the agenda of the synodal path. Benedict is seen as a disturbing factor for the synodal path.
It's very sad to see that there's a lack of focus on the victims as well and how to alleviate their pain. But there was another scandal in Germany this week, the public self-identification of various priests and clergy as LGBTQ. How was this received by church hierarchy and separately by the laity?
Well, the timing of this self-indication of 125 employees of the Catholic Church, priests and clergy among them, was obviously on purpose and well orchestrated, including not only a website called Out in Church, but also a book and a documentary film that was aired on public media. All this was launched right after the publication of the report in Munich and a few days before the third plenary assembly of the Synodal Path in Frankfurt. The aim of this LGBTQ initiative is obviously they want to push a change of the teaching of the Church regarding the sexuality. Several lay movements, as well as part of the church hierarchy, reacted positively, like in a particular way Bishop Helmut Dieser of Aachen welcomed the initiative of queer people on behalf of the German Bishops' Conference and called it a sign that they are working to create a climate of freedom from fear in the church. Dieser is chairing the Synodal Forum on Living in Successful Relationships, Living Love in Sexuality and Partnership. All this will most probably lead to a decision in favor of the change of the doctrine in the coming plenary assemblies of the Synodal path.
And there's a difference between affirming and endorsing these relationships. What can we expect after the issuing of this German priest abuse report? Will there be further investigation or a response from the Vatican?
Andrea Tornielli, the editorial director of the Dicastery of Communications, published a statement on Vatican News the other day that is clearly meant as a reaction to the public prejudicial commentaries against Pope Emeritus Benedict after the publication of the report. Tornielli stressed that the reconstructions contained in the Munich report, which is not a judicial inquiry nor a final sentence, will help to combat pedophilia in the Church as long as they are not reduced to the search for easy scapegoats and summary judgments. Moreover, Pope Benedict's personal secretary, Archbishop Georg Genswein, has announced that the Pope Emeritus will issue a detailed statement regarding the 4 cases being contested against him after he has finished examining the report. Tornielli emphasized that it cannot be forgotten that Ratzinger, who as prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith had already fought the phenomenon in the last phase of the pontificate of St. John Paul II, once he became Pope, promulgated very harsh norms against clerical abusers, special laws to combat pedophilia. Moreover, Tornielli pointed out that with his concrete example, Benedict XVI testified to the urgency of that change of mentality that is so important to counter the phenomenon of abuse. This means listening and closeness to the victims, to whom forgiveness must always be asked.
Absolutely, a focus on the victims. And we'll look forward to hearing from Pope Benedict himself. Martin, thank you so much.